In the earliest days, when humanity first began to live upon the earth and daughters were born to them, the world was quiet and vast. It was an age lost to memory, long before the Great Flood. Back then, the land was fresh, rivers ran pure, and the forests stretched endlessly. But something began to stir within human hearts, a shadow slowly taking shape. The story of the Nephilim begins here. It started during the time of Jared. This was a generation before Enoch and 2 before Noah. Life spread quickly across the plains and hills as people increased in number. Yet as they grew, their hearts started to change. Jealousy crept into their minds, and evil started to bloom within homes. What was once clean and bright began to grow dim. That was when celestial beings arrived from above. These were the ones called sons of God, also known as the Watchers. They were heavenly beings sent to monitor and protect the human race. High above, they observed as people multiplied and civilizations began to form. But in time, their attention drifted. They saw human women, graceful and full of spirit, unlike anything they had known. They watched them gather by rivers, move through tall grass, and laugh beneath the sky. A dangerous longing began to grow in the Watchers. Their purpose was to protect, but now they felt desire. They wished to take these women as their own, to be with them, and to join the world they were supposed to keep separate. Their leader, Semyaza, called them together on a great field near Mount Hermon. He feared giving in alone, so he urged the others to join him. He said they must all agree and bind themselves with a curse if anyone changed their mind. So, they made a vow that would seal their fate. All at once, they descended. The sky split open, and the ground trembled as they arrived. They appeared in human shape, but clearly were not of this world. A strange glow surrounded them, and their eyes burned like coals. Their presence was overwhelming, both beautiful and terrifying. People stared in awe, unsure if they were witnessing divine messengers or something far worse. Soon, the Watchers took human women as wives. From their union came children the world had never seen. These offspring were giants, towering over all, with power far beyond ordinary humans. They became known as the Nephilim. At first they were hailed as mighty warriors, legends who destroyed monsters, conquered cities, and carried stones too heavy for any man. But their true nature soon became clear. They were no heroes. They were creatures of hunger and violence. The Nephilim began to take control over human clans. Their massive forms and unmatched strength gave them complete control. They seized lands and demanded offerings from those who lived there. People, overcome with fear, began to treat them as if they were divine, but their craving grew beyond limits. At first, they ate the fruits of the earth, stripping entire regions of crops until the soil held nothing. Then they turned to animals, devouring flocks and herds in moments. Still, their hunger only deepened. When nature could no longer sustain them, their attention shifted toward humankind. They began to hunt people without guilt, chasing them like wild game, wiping out entire communities with ease. Panic spread across the land. No army or defense could stand against them. Meanwhile, the Watchers, no longer concerned with their duty, began creating unnatural creatures by mixing species. These twisted beings wandered through forests and plains, creatures that defied the natural world and brought terror wherever they went. The beauty of the earth faded. What was once a garden of life was now a nightmare. With hands as large as tree trunks, they built cities from stone so vast they resembled mountains on their walls. They hung the skulls of their victims, warning all who might resist. These monstrous cities became places of worship and dread. People bowed before them, chanting their names not in honor, but out of pure fear. Og, the mountain giant. Arba, master builder. Anak, ruler of the lowlands. And Gilgamesh, part savior, part beast, each demanded rituals, gifts, and lives to stay their fury. People sang songs to them and offered what they held dear, hoping to avoid destruction. But then the Watchers began to reveal secrets never meant for human hands. Azazel taught men how to shape iron into deadly blades, make armor that no spear could pierce, carve gems that gleamed like stars, and craft beauty tools to change women's faces and hearts. Tamil shared spells and charms, words that twisted minds, stirred desires, and spread deceit. Others shared secrets of the stars and heavens, not for wonder, but to control fate. They introduced potions, rituals, and ways to turn sacred things into curses. People, unaware of what they had become, slid deeper into a darkness they couldn't escape. They learned to forge tools of death, stir forbidden feelings, and summon powers they didn't understand. The world itself began to change. Cities echoed with screams, blood stained the streets, and cruelty became a form of entertainment. War was praised, and humans copied the violence of the giants. Seasons no longer came as they once did. Spring was delayed, winter dragged on, and the land stopped yielding its gifts. Trees bore strange, twisted fruit, animals were born broken. Rivers, once pure, flowed murky and dark, as though the earth itself was sick. Life had become poisoned, and without knowing it, the whole world was heading straight toward its downfall. God looked upon the ruined world and spoke with firm judgment. "My presence will not stay with humans forever, for they are merely flesh and bone." From that moment on, their lives would be limited to 120 years. This was not just a declaration, it was a warning, a ticking clock for all mankind before the coming reckoning. After these words, the heavens grew still. A deep, eerie silence took hold. It was as if the sky itself held its breath in anticipation of what was to come. People went on with their lives as though nothing had changed, yet something had. The skies dimmed without reason. Birds flew in disarray, fleeing from something unseen. The earth exhaled a foul stench, a grim sign that divine forbearance was nearing its end. And yet, in the middle of this gloom, walked a man unlike any other. His name was Enoch. He was the 7th generation after Adam, and he refused to bow to either the Nephilim or the Watchers. His very existence stood against the decay of the world. While chaos reigned, he chose a righteous path. His spirit was clear, his belief unwavering. Enoch walked beside God. He stood tall in front of both fallen angels and humans and declared without fear, "You have turned your backs on heaven and stained the earth." The Watchers, knowing what was to come, shivered at his words. In desperation, they sought out Enoch, crying and begging, handing him messages to deliver on their behalf. One day, as Enoch prayed alone, the skies parted before him. He was lifted from the ground through gates made of fire. Pillars of flame spiraled around him, but they did not harm him. They opened like doorways to a new realm. Light embraced him, his feet left the soil, and the world below faded from view. Suddenly, Enoch stood in vast realms filled with both light and shadow, places no human had ever witnessed. He wandered through radiant corridors where streams of flame crossed over rivers of crystal without ever mixing. The walls pulsed with a glow, humming songs in languages no man could understand. There, he saw powerful angels recording in eternal scrolls, writing the names of both humans and heavenly beings. Letters flickered in glowing blue fire. As some names were written, others erased. It was there that the full, terrifying message was unveiled to him. Enoch heard the verdict for the Watchers. "You left the heights of heaven, tainted the world below, you birthed giants, spread evil, shared secrets never meant for mankind. Now you shall meet your end." Then came the fate of their offspring. The Nephilim will find no peace. They will turn on each other and be swept away by waters that will flood the world. Their spirits will become restless, drifting shadows until the final judgment. As for the angels who fell, the voice of the Highest rang out with finality. "You will remain imprisoned in darkness," declared the voice from above, "held there until the final day, when judgment will come, and you will be thrown into the eternal flame." Though Enoch was shaken, he did not flee. He lifted his eyes, and the heavenly beings showed him the way back. So he returned to the earth, knowing the message he had received could not be kept silent. Enoch faced the watchers again. His voice trembled, but his resolve was unbreakable. He delivered the verdict. "You will find no peace. Your children will fall, and your names will vanish from the memory of heaven." The watchers lowered their faces in despair. For the first time, fear touched them. But when Enoch turned to warn the people, they would not listen. He called them together, stood among them, and cried out, "Listen to me, people of the earth. You have witnessed the watchers walking beside you. You have followed in their corrupt footsteps. Turn back now. The Highest has spoken. This evil will not continue." But his warnings fell on deaf ears. Some laughed at him, others turned away. Only a few truly heard his call. Most went on living as they had, building, eating, mixing, killing, blind to the fact that the clock had already started ticking. Then the moment arrived, as heaven had planned. God sent his strongest servants to execute the sentence. 4 archangels came, each with a mission. Michael, the great warrior, was sent to bring justice to the watchers and remove the power they had stolen. Raphael, healer and judge, was given the darkest task, to find Azazel and imprison him forever. Gabriel, the one who brings hidden truths, was told to stir war among the Nephilim so they would destroy themselves. Uriel, the light-bearer, came to warn mankind and announce the judgment to come. Raphael descended first, a burning flame. He found Azazel hiding in a desolate land called Dudael, cloaked in darkness. With chains made from the very word of God, he bound him. The chains glowed with holy fire, searing Azazel's skin. Raphael dragged him across jagged stones that tore his flesh, while Azazel screamed in fury. Deep within the abyss, he cast him down. Huge rocks sealed the pit. There, Azazel remained, chained, alone, and waiting for the final day of reckoning. Next came Michael. He pursued the remaining watchers, those who had escaped. One by one he hunted them, capturing each and throwing them into deep caverns, so silent and sealed that not even echoes could escape. Blazing stones blocked every exit. At the same time, Gabriel carried out his task among the Nephilim. He moved like a silent storm, a whisper in the wind, planting fear and suspicion in their minds. Where once unity had ruled, doubt now took root. Tribes that once shared blood and brotherhood now stared at one another with growing hatred. It only took the smallest spark to ignite conflict. War broke out, giant against giant, brother against brother, in savage battles that made the earth tremble beneath their feet. Their mighty cities fell to ruin, and their reign turned to ash. This marked the beginning of the end, and still humanity remained. Uriel came down to walk among the people, warning them that the final hour was drawing close. He stood in markets and open fields, raising his voice to be heard. "The time has come," he declared. "The Highest One has spoken. This corruption must end. What you've planted, you will now harvest. But a small window of mercy remains. Turn back now. Repent. Seek the Creator before the waters rise." In every place he visited, Uriel proclaimed that the cries of the earth had already reached heaven, the rebellious angels were bound, and the giants' days were numbered. Still, people ignored him. They continued to use the hidden knowledge passed down by the watchers. Violence kept growing, and the world was soaked in blood and twisted creations. But Enoch remained untainted. He walked closely with God, and one night, while praying alone in a field, the sky above him split open. Enoch was taken from the earth. He passed into realms beyond time, guided by shining beings into dimensions no human had ever imagined. Circles of flame spun around him, yet he was not harmed. Towers of glowing light moved like living threads, lifting him through layers of existence. Each level they crossed unveiled part of the vast creation. He saw the edges of the world and deep chambers where the winds slumber. He glimpsed the place of punishment, where rebels await their fate, and Eden, still untouched, radiant, and sealed since the dawn. Then he was lifted even higher, to the realms where the sun and moon obey divine patterns. He passed blazing holy mountains that were never consumed by fire, saw where thunder is born, and walked through vaults where stars are kept like treasures. Beyond the heavens, Enoch was shown what lay ahead. He saw decay spreading like venom, cities built on bones, humans bowing before forgotten giants, hatred spreading like wildfire. And with those visions, the great judgment was made clear, balance shifting, names disappearing from the eternal scrolls, and waters coming, not as ordinary rain, but as a verdict from heaven. Enoch listened and he wrote. He documented every vision. According to ancient traditions, he compiled 366 books that held his testimony. He wrote of the angels' punishment, the earth's renewal, and the future days that would follow. And when all was revealed and nothing more remained hidden, Enoch was taken beyond the stars that mark time. There, he saw the final dwelling places. He witnessed the secret of justice and compassion. On one side, brilliant homes for the righteous, filled with calm, glowing with eternal light, untouched by pain or shadow. On the other side, Enoch saw a place of endless night, where the wicked waited, fully aware, shattered by eternal distance from the light. And at the very center of all things stood the throne of the almighty. Rivers of eternal flame flowed from beneath it, and unexplainable majesty surrounded it. Enoch fell to the ground, unable to lift his eyes, but God did not cast him away. Instead, he sent him back, not as a punishment, but as a messenger. Enoch was to speak once more and share the truth of all he had witnessed. When he returned to the land of men, something in him had changed. His face no longer showed fear. He gathered his son Methuselah, his descendants, and the few who still clung to righteousness. He told them of the realms he had seen, of the homes prepared above, of the sealed books, of the names written in fire. He warned them that the judgment was not a distant tale, and begged them not to trade their souls for fleeting pleasures, not to follow the giants into corruption, nor fall into the traps set by the fallen angels. A solemn silence filled his house that day, and not long after, Enoch said his time on earth was over. On the day appointed, he disappeared. God took him. He was lifted up, never to walk among men again. For a brief moment, the world stood still. Even the chaos paused. Whispers spread that Enoch had not died like other men, that the light had received him, that he was taken alive by the Creator when the heavens opened one last time. But that calm didn't last. Soon after, terror swept across the land. The Nephilim turned on each other in brutal wars. Their cities crumbled under the weight of their own evil. Without Enoch's voice to hold them back, humans gave in completely to wickedness. The sons of the fallen marched through bones. Women, taught by Tamil, cast enchantments without shame. False seers spoke lies drawn from the stars. Though the watchers remained buried in the abyss, their children ruled above like tyrants. Mountains shook with their steps. Blood stained the fountains of the earth. The cries of the helpless echoed through the skies. Then the heavens dimmed. The seasons fell into confusion. The sun no longer blazed as it once had. Birds lost their paths. Trees curled in on themselves. The earth, weary and scarred, groaned in pain. Yet even in that shadow, a light emerged. His name was Noah. While all around him were lost to violence and magic, he worked the ruined soil with honest hands. At 600 years old, he stood alone in purity. He raised his sons to respect the Almighty and lifted his prayers daily. He remained just, untouched by the evil of his time, a man who still heard the voice that had once spoken to Enoch. And that voice came again, "I will bring an end to all flesh, for the world is full of cruelty. I will destroy them, along with the earth itself." God revealed to Noah the coming judgment, the waters that would flood the entire earth, and entrusted him with a great task. "Build yourself a vessel from cypress wood," said the Lord. "Construct it with rooms and cover it inside and out with tar to make it watertight." Then God gave detailed instructions. The ark must be 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits tall. Make a roof with a 1-cubit opening just beneath it. Running all around, place a door on the side, and divide it into lower, middle, and upper levels. Noah stood in stunned silence, but then the Creator spoke of a promise. "I will make a covenant with you. You and your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives will enter the ark." Without hesitation, Noah obeyed. He went out to gather the wood and began building. Days turned to weeks, and weeks into months, as the enormous structure slowly took shape. His family joined in, building under sun and storm, while others laughed and scorned them. Still, they kept going. The day arrived when the sky could no longer contain its wrath, and the earth, soaked in innocent blood, groaned toward heaven. It was as if the planet itself begged for justice. The sun dimmed unnaturally, and a strange heaviness settled across the land, as though something irreversible was near. Then, something extraordinary occurred. From every land, animals began to appear, drawn by an unseen call that echoed through all living things. They came in perfect pairs, birds with brilliant feathers, silent serpents, creatures large and small. All walked 2 by 2 toward the ark, as if they knew exactly where to go. People stared, speechless. They couldn't explain how wild beasts behaved so gently, calmly, entering the strange vessel. Noah welcomed them, placing each pair exactly where they were meant to be, just as he had been instructed. Then he entered the ark, along with his wife, his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives. No one else followed. No one else believed. As the last of them crossed the threshold, Noah turned once more to look at the world he had known, the land he had worked, the sky he once loved, and the corruption that had touched everything. Then it happened. A mighty sound echoed across the land. The door shut behind them, not by Noah's hand, but by the hand of God himself. For a moment, a quiet fell over everything. The earth seemed to pause. Then it began. Darkness swallowed the sky. A sound like thunder tore through the ground as the deep places of the earth cracked open. Water, hidden since the dawn of the world, surged forth with unstoppable strength. The skies broke open and endless rain began to fall. For 40 days and 40 nights, the downpour never ceased. Rivers surged over their edges. Croplands vanished beneath rising tides, and the earth became a vast, endless sea. People ran in every direction, desperate for higher ground. They climbed trees, cried out the names of powerless gods, and begged for rescue that never came. Even the mighty Nephilim, the giants who once ruled without fear, felt terror grip their hearts. Their great size, their unmatched power, meant nothing now. Some were seen scrambling up peaks soon to vanish under the flood. They built towers atop stone columns, clung to the tallest branches, and swam through the wild chaos. Gilgamesh, one of their fiercest, raised his hands to the darkened sky and shouted, "Is this your revenge?" But the storm drowned his voice, and the waters swallowed him whole. Og, another of the titans, thrashed through the deluge, creating waves with each stroke, but even he was consumed, helpless as a leaf in a river. One by one the Nephilim fell, lost in whirlpools and silence, their cries muffled by the crashing flood, and deep beneath the surface, the imprisoned watchers heard it all from their fiery cells. Chained beneath stone and shadow, they listened to the wrath they had unleashed. Azazel screamed into the dark, his voice raw and broken, unable to escape his fate. Above, in the realm of heaven, a quiet judgment took place. Ancient books were unsealed, and the names of the Nephilim, those who had defied the divine, were removed from eternal memory. There would be no trace of them left in the records of creation. As the flood wiped the world clean, heaven rejoiced in justice. The stars, hidden for so long, began to pierce the clouds, and the balance of all things, distorted for generations, slowly returned. Everything changed. And as it did, the ark floated alone on the face of the deep, carrying within it the last breath of hope. Its beams groaned under the weight of the storm, but it held firm. Inside, Noah knelt in prayer, his voice soft but unwavering, lifted toward the heavens as thunder rolled outside. The waters rose until even the tallest mountains disappeared beneath the tide. Nothing remained, no man, no creature, no bird with breath in its lungs. All life was gone, except what had been sheltered inside the ark. Time passed, and slowly the flood began to shrink. Day after day the water dropped, and then, for the first time in what felt like forever, the earth peeked out beneath a clearing sky. Eventually the ark settled gently on the heights of Ararat, standing like a monument of survival in a reborn world. Inside, Noah waited, watching the horizon, hoping. He opened a small window and sent out a raven. The bird flew back and forth, searching for dry ground, but found none. After more days passed, Noah released a dove. The dove flew out into the open sky. At first it came back with nothing, unable to find a place to rest. But Noah gave it time. After 7 more days, the dove returned, this time with something in its beak. A fresh olive leaf. Noah's heart surged with hope. The earth was healing. A week later he sent the dove once more, and this time it did not return. That was the sign. Dry land had appeared, and life could begin again. When they finally stepped out of the ark, they entered a world reborn. The fields were pure, washed clean. The air felt light and new. The mountains glistened under a bright, untainted sky. Noah stood in silence, taking in the weight of all that had happened. Then, knowing what must be done, he gathered stones and built a humble altar. There, he offered a sacrifice, clean animals given in thanks. The smoke rose like a fragrant offering, a silent vow of trust in what lay ahead. God spoke once more, but this time not to judge, but to promise. Looking upon the fresh earth, he said, "Never again will I curse the soil because of mankind. I will not wipe out all living things as I have done." That promise was etched not only in word, but in the sky itself. A radiant arc stretched across the heavens, a rainbow, vast and shining, suspended between cloud and sun. It was the sign of a lasting covenant, a reminder to all generations that God had given the world a new beginning. From then on, whenever rain fell and light broke through, that sign would appear, proof of the vow made to creation. Justice had been done. But now a new story would begin, one rooted in mercy and the hope of restoration. In time, Noah's family began to spread across the renewed earth. His sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, went their separate ways, carrying the memory of the flood and the promise of redemption with them. Ham traveled south into warm lands. In the fertile valleys of Egypt and the wide plains of Canaan, his descendants built cities and towers. From his line came Nimrod, famed as a powerful hunter before the Lord, and the founder of great cities like Babel, Erech, and Nineveh, places that would become known for both their splendor and their rebellion. Japheth turned toward the colder lands of the north, into mountains and far-off regions. From him came people and cultures that would stretch beyond even Noah's vision. Shem remained closer to the path of the promise. His descendants would form a people marked by faith. Through them would come the patriarchs, the prophets, and ultimately the source of blessing for all the earth. As generations passed, the languages of men began to multiply. Once, all humanity spoke the same language, but that unity fractured. Words turned into walls, and out of those barriers came new cultures, new nations, and distinct identities. The earth was filled again, this time with many voices, each carrying its own history. Yet from within these rising civilizations, whispers of the ancient world began to resurface. After the flood, it was believed that all evil had been washed away. The ark had rested on the slopes of Ararat, and with that, the Nephilim, the giants of the old world, were thought to be gone forever. But that belief may not tell the whole story. The biblical account ends with total destruction of life and a world purified by water. Still, some ancient writings and forgotten traditions point to something more troubling: the possibility that the legacy of the giants didn't vanish but passed on, hidden in human blood. According to these accounts, one of the wives of Noah's sons, likely from Ham's line, may have unknowingly carried the trace of the fallen in her bloodline. She wasn't a giant herself, but her ancestry may have been tainted. And if that's true, it could explain why, generations later, giants reappeared, not as rulers of the world, but as remnants, shadows of a time long past. These were not myths. The Bible itself names them. Books like Deuteronomy and Joshua describe entire tribes known for their towering size and incredible strength. The Anakim of Hebron were so massive that the Israelite scouts felt like insects in their presence. The Rephaim, also known as the Silent Ones, lived in the region of Bashan. The Emim, called the Dreadful Ones, haunted the lands of Moab. There were also the Zamzumites, infamous for their brutality, and the Zuzites, the Avites, and others, peoples scattered across ancient lands, all described as giants or descendants of them. Even their cities spoke of their legend. Bashan, ruled by King Og, whose iron bed was more than 13 feet long. Hazor, surrounded by megalithic walls, Ashdod, Gath, and Ashkelon, Philistine cities that, according to some traditions, had foundations laid by giants before the flood, later inherited by their kin. Today, archaeologists have found ruins built with stones so massive that even modern machinery would struggle to move them. The walls of Bashan in particular seem less like human craftsmanship and more like the legacy of titans. Some researchers believe these were not just strongholds, but attempts to defy divine justice, as if by raising cities that could last forever, the giants sought to resist their fate. Though Israel's earliest generations never met the original Nephilim, their descendants would face what came after. Centuries later, when Moses led the people of Israel toward the land they had long been promised, God instructed him to send 12 scouts to survey Canaan. For days they traveled, across rivers, through forests and hills. They saw fertile lands, lush vineyards, and great cities rising like stone mountains. But one sight chilled them to the bone. There they saw the sons of Anak, men so tall and fearsome that stories had long linked them to the ancient giants. When the 12 scouts returned, 10 of them spoke in fear. "We saw giants there, descendants of Anak," they said, voices shaking. "We felt like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and surely that's how we look to them." Panic swept through the camp. That night the people cried out and turned against Moses and Aaron. "Why did the Lord bring us here?" they shouted. "Only to die by the sword. Let us go back to Egypt." Their hearts sank into despair. But 2 men stood firm. Joshua and Caleb stepped forward, their voices steady amid the uproar. "If the Lord is pleased with us," they said, "He will bring us into this land and give it to us. Don't be afraid of those who live there. We'll overcome them as easily as eating bread. Their protection is gone, but the Lord is with us." In that moment of fear, their words were a beam of hope, a reminder that no giant, no enemy, no wall was greater than the God who walked with them. Years passed, and the promise began to unfold. After Moses, Joshua became leader, and the people of Israel crossed the Jordan River. They stood ready to claim the land promised to their forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. One by one, the strongholds of Canaan began to fall. Hebron, home of the Anakim, was the first. The giants who had once filled others with fear were now the ones who trembled. Then came Debir, a city known for ancient knowledge and worship, but its walls could not withstand the God of Israel. Anab followed soon after, another fortress where giants once stood proud. None of them could stand against what was coming. Each battle was more than just a fight, it was a cleansing. With every victory, altars built to false gods crumbled. Temples once devoted to corrupted worship were leveled. Then came the final challenge. Og, king of Bashan. His size was legendary. The Bible even records the length of his iron bed, over 13 feet. As proof of his power, he was the last of the Rephaim, a living echo of a dark past. But the people of Israel, strengthened by God's hand, did not flinch. Og fell in battle, and with him his army. His cities were destroyed, his reign ended. What once seemed unshakable turned to rubble. The symbols of his dominion, the idols, the altars, the names, were erased. The echoes of the Nephilim, their shadowed rule, and their defiance were finally silenced. Through the obedience of a faithful people, guided by the voice of the living God, the land began to transform. The promised land was no longer haunted by old powers. It was ready to become what it was always meant to be, a home where promise would be fulfilled. Still, the legends of giants didn't fade into silence. Though judges ruled and kings rose and fell, stories of towering warriors lingered in the hearts of the people. And in the land of the Philistines, one such figure emerged, so imposing he seemed to carry the very breath of the ancient Nephilim, Goliath of Gath. He stood nearly 10 feet tall. His bronze armor alone weighed as much as a grown man, and his spear was thick and long like a weaver's rod. For 40 days, every morning and every evening, he stepped forward, his voice echoing like thunder across the hills. "Choose one man to fight me," he shouted. "If he defeats me, we'll serve you, but if I win, you'll become our slaves." Fear gripped the army of Israel. No warrior dared accept the challenge. Then David arrived, a young shepherd boy sent to deliver supplies to his brothers. Still youthful and unarmed, David was outraged by the insults hurled at Israel. Without hesitation, he asked to be taken to King Saul. The king offered him his armor, but David refused. Instead, he took only his shepherd's staff, his sling, 5 smooth stones from a stream, and his unshakable faith. As he stepped onto the battlefield, Goliath laughed at the sight of him. But David answered with bold words that have echoed through time. You come with sword and spear, but I come in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel's armies, the one you have defied. Today the Lord will hand you over to me. The whole world will know there is a God in Israel." As the giant moved in with curses, David ran forward without hesitation. He reached into his pouch, pulled out a stone, loaded his sling, and with a swift motion launched it toward the giant. The stone flew fast, striking Goliath square in the forehead. It sank deep. Goliath staggered, then collapsed face first into the dust. The earth shook beneath him. Without delay, David rushed to the fallen giant. He took Goliath's own sword, and with one powerful strike, severed his head. Holding it high, David declared, "This victory belongs to the Lord." But the age of giants wasn't over. The Bible records that more giants appeared in the years that followed, still rising from Philistine lands, as if ancient bloodlines refused to be forgotten. In one fierce battle, a massive warrior named Ishbi-Benob, armed with a heavy bronze spear, tried to slay David, now an aging king. But Abishai, son of Zeruiah and one of David's most trusted fighters, rushed in and killed the giant before he could strike. Another time, a giant named Saph rose to fight, but Sibbecai the Hushathite met him in combat and brought him down. Later, the name Lahmi was heard, said to be Goliath's brother. His spear was just as formidable, but Elhanan, son of Jair from Bethlehem, defeated him in a fierce duel, silencing another giant and leaving the Philistines once again without their champion. There's a tale told of a man from Gath, a fearsome figure with 6 fingers on both hands and 6 toes on each foot, 24 in all. His appearance alone filled people with fear, yet he was defeated by a servant of God, Jonathan, son of Shemaiah and nephew of David, who faced him bravely and ended his arrogance. Each of these giants carried with them a shadow of the ancient Nephilim, thinking they were unbeatable. But every one of them fell to something beyond their understanding, faith and surrender. Many years later, during the time of the prophet Daniel, a different kind of vision came forth, not made of flesh, but appearing through dreams. Nebuchadnezzar, ruler of Babylon, dreamed of a giant statue. Its head was gold, its chest silver, its stomach bronze, its legs iron, and its feet a mix of iron and clay. Daniel, guided by divine insight, explained that the statue stood for future human kingdoms, but it was the strange material of the feet that carried the most unsettling meaning. As you saw iron mixed with clay, so will they blend with human offspring. But just as iron doesn't unite with clay, they will not truly join. This wasn't just a simple message. It hinted at something deeper. The phrase, "they will blend with human offspring," appears nowhere else in the Bible. It suggests something unnatural, a mixing that defies design. Many believe it refers to something that already happened in Enoch's time. The Watchers once tried to merge their kind with humans, creating a line of corrupted offspring. Daniel's words suggest that such an act would be repeated again, not in fields or ancient cities, but in secret labs, secret alliances, and towers built today not to honor God, but to take his place. Extra-biblical texts, like the Book of Giants, hint that the blood of the fallen ones was never fully wiped out, and that a hidden plan still waits in the shadows for its time. In Enoch's prophetic writings, it said that when the Nephilim were drowned in the flood, their spirits didn't rise to heaven or sink into Sheol like human souls. They weren't welcomed by heaven, nor accepted by the earth. They were cursed to wander. Since they were born from an unlawful blend of human and fallen spirit, their souls became stuck in a state of impurity. Belonging to neither the divine nor the mortal world, their punishment was to roam endlessly, bodiless and lost. Wanderers, demons, spirits without form, without rest, began a never-ending quest to take over human bodies. Their craving wasn't for food or drink. It was for rule. They longed to control minds, fuel rage, awaken desire, and spread the defilement that once tainted their blood. Enoch tells how these restless souls brought with them evil, sickness, deception, and seduction. They were echoes of a long-forgotten crime, a wrong that still speaks from the shadows. They stir violence, feed desire, and control those without strength. At this point, various spiritual beliefs, Jewish and early Christian, begin to overlap. Some ancient thinkers believed that these wandering souls were in fact demons, spirits without rest, without form, always searching for someone to influence, corrupt, or possess, pulling others down into their cursed fate. This explains why Jesus, many centuries later, directly faced these evil forces. In his earliest public acts, it wasn't scholars or religious leaders who recognized him, it was the spirits themselves. These disembodied beings, the cursed offspring of the Watcher's rebellion, shook in fear at his presence. One such spirit, inside a man at the synagogue, cried out in fear, "Why are you here, Jesus of Nazareth? Are you going to destroy us? I know exactly who you are, God's chosen one." This wasn't a question, it was a terrified acknowledgement of unmatched power. These spirits knew something people hadn't grasped yet. They realized that Enoch's ancient prophecy was starting to come true, and their time was running out. With just his voice, Jesus removed them. "Leave him." But that wasn't the end of the story. It continued in the final book of the Bible, Revelation. In chapter 9, the fifth trumpet sounds, and something profound begins. As it blasts, John, the disciple loved by Jesus, the one who leaned close to him, sees through spiritual vision a fallen star receiving a key. This key unlocks the abyss. When it opens, something terrifying happens. From deep below the surface, a pit bursts open, sending thick smoke rising into the air, covering everything in darkness. And from that cloud, creatures begin to crawl out. They're called locusts, but they're not insects. They are twisted monsters, human-like faces, long hair like women, but mouths that tear like lions. They wear iron armor, and their wings make a deafening noise like chariots rushing into battle. They don't bring death, they bring pain. For 5 long months they haunt mankind, and those they touch cannot die, no matter how much they long for it. Then John writes something haunting. These beings are ruled by a king, the angel of the deep pit. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek, Apollyon. That name, silent for ages, reappears. Abaddon, a prince of the underworld, said in old writings to be a commander among the Watchers who fell. He once stood alongside Azazel and Semjaza. He helped spread darkness and sealed cruel deals with blood. He was chained beneath the surface when Enoch still walked the earth, but now he's free. The ground quakes. The abyss lies open. The ancient beings, the same ones born from the forbidden union between divine and human, rise again. Though they have no true body or soul, they return, not in the same form, but in symbolic, spiritual, and end-time visions. They no longer fight with weapons. Now they brand, control, and influence. They pave the way for the ultimate deception, messengers of the last and greatest lie, and humanity remains unaware. But the vision goes on. In chapter 13, John is taken by the Spirit to witness the final age, and what he sees is both terrifying and strangely familiar. What rose from the sea wasn't just an animal. It was a nightmare of blended forms, filled with meaning. It moved like a leopard, swift and sleek, but its strength crushed like a bear, and its voice roared like a lion ready to devour. Its horns held crowns that burned like fire, and its mouth unleashed words so vile they cut like blades, speaking insults against everything sacred. This monster wasn't only fierce, it held real power. It took command, ruled with force, and the people of the world looked on in awe, as if they had longed for its coming, as if something buried deep inside them knew it and bowed without question. But this wasn't something entirely new. Inside its grotesque form were pieces of an ancient story. It carried the remnants of long-lost wickedness, a twisted reflection of the pride once found in the giants of old. This beast wanted more than control. It craved adoration. At the center of its evil design was the original goal of the fallen ones, to craft their own version of creation, to forge their own children, their own rule, a dark imitation of the divine order. And the world, drawn in by its strength, submitted and accepted its mark. But its time was short. And then came chapter 20 of Revelation. Satan is briefly let loose one last time. With that chance, he calls together distant tribes, people from the farthest parts of the earth, those from beyond the edge, Gog and Magog. These names aren't new. The prophet Ezekiel had already spoken of them long ago, describing them as fierce enemies from the far north, marching against Israel. Now, in the final chapter of human history, they rise again. This time, not just as nations, but as if they carry within them a trace of forbidden ancestry. Legends claimed Gog and Magog were born from corruption, sealed away by Alexander the Great behind high mountains, trapped with twisted beings, giants, altered creatures waiting for the moment they'd be freed. That moment finally came. Gog and Magog surround God's people, their soldiers spread like waves across the land. They are countless and wild, driven by a rage as old as the Nephilim themselves. But there's no war. Fire falls from above, and in a flash, all is gone. Just like the flood in Noah's day, just like the flames of Sodom, the judgment of God arrives with complete and unstoppable power. Then the heavens and the earth vanish before his face. A white throne shines with brilliance, the records are opened, and the dead, famous or forgotten, are called forth. The last judgment begins. The sky parts, and the faithful true rider appears. He rides a white horse, and his name is the Word of God. He is not alone. An army follows, dressed in bright, spotless linen, ready and waiting. They are angels and redeemed souls, not preparing for war with weapons, but for a victory written before time began. The Messiah returns. In his presence, thrones are placed. The books of eternity are revealed, and the names from the book of life are spoken. The ancient enemy, the serpent, is thrown into the lake of fire, where his suffering never ends. The fallen angels, those who left their place and brought ruin to mankind, are given their final punishment. And the Nephilim, the ones born of forbidden unions, those who defied creation just by existing, are judged too. They have no body, no honor, and no escape. What they once spread through evil and destruction now returns to them in full justice. Everyone faces their destiny. But none of this is new. Long before the flood, long before Abraham walked the land, the outcome of this conflict had already been foretold. The clash between the holy and the corrupted would reach its final conclusion. And Enoch saw it. In his heavenly visions, he witnessed something that would shake generations yet unborn. He saw the final moment. He saw the great judge arriving, and he wasn't alone. Enoch saw the Son of Man coming from the heavens, surrounded by uncountable holy ones, shining with purpose, prepared to carry out judgment against all evil. This is what Enoch wrote. "Look, the Lord is coming with thousands upon thousands of his holy ones to bring justice to all." And many years later, Jude echoed the same words in his letter. "To expose and judge all those who live in rebellion, who carry out ungodly acts in ungodly ways, and who speak defiant words against him." Enoch's vision wasn't lost. It was kept safe through time, then confirmed by the Spirit in the writings of the New Testament, because the very same Son of Man who was rejected and nailed to a cross will come again, not as a gentle lamb, but as the roaring lion, no longer a servant, but a reigning king. His return will be terrifying for those who opposed him, but full of joy for those who stood faithful. The heavens will break open, and every corrupt power will be shaken down to its core. For the judgment Enoch foretold is still waiting to unfold, and the Son of Man has not forgotten. He is coming. And with him comes the judgment that will forever seal the fate of the rebellious angels and the restless spirits who harmed humanity so deeply, because the tale of the Nephilim, the Watchers, the giants, and their disembodied souls isn't just ancient myth. It's a living warning, a reminder that the same kind of corruption still tries to influence every new generation today. The unions aren't between angels and women. They are between lies and truth. And many, just like in Noah's day, are drawn in by appearances, by things that shine or roar with strength, not realizing that the same pride which drove the fall is still hidden at the center. That's why this story tells us, be wise about what is mixed. Not every idea that sounds deep is from God, and not all that impresses the world is truth. Some teachings are born from arrogance but wear the mask of divine insight. Some movements gain momentum, but they carry the same rebellious heart that lived in the giants, proud, disobedient, and corrupt. In Enoch's time, very few paid attention. In Noah's time, only one family was saved. And today, the same warning still speaks. Don't give away your soul to those who speak with power, but lack truth. Don't fall for the pull of what is mixed, what is tainted, what has no place with God. He has not changed. The same God who judged the angels when they sinned, who covered the earth with water and protected Noah in the ark, has promised to guard his people, even through fire. While some spirits wander, still seeking to defile, there is one who still sits on the throne above. His name is holy, he is faithful, he is just, and his promise stands unshaken. As long as the rainbow appears in the sky, as long as the sunrise spreads light across the earth, God continues to remember what he swore. The story of the Nephilim reminds us that in a world flooded with confusing voices and mixed messages, not everything that sparkles is divine. That's why now, more than ever, we need discernment. Thank you so much for watching and being part of this journey. If you found this story meaningful, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. May God bless you, protect you, and guide your heart every step of the way.